Hello and welcome to our interview. My first question today is, do you identify as a young single adult?
I do.
Okay. Do you feel that you and other people in your age group have trouble saving food?
I do because, for so long we lived with our families, and they usually decide how much we eat, when we eat, and for the first times in our lives, we're deciding this for ourselves. And obviously, anytime you're starting something new, you kind of have difficulty, and young people tend to overestimate how much they want to eat. So, and when we're eating at multiple times of the day and random times of the day, just because our schedules are kind of weird and hectic, you tend to be more wasteful.
Do you feel that this is a problem?
I do feel it's a problem because obviously it's not good, economically, because college students are on a budget, and just wasting food just to waste food isn't good, and obviously it's not good morally or ethically, because obviously there's people in the world who are actually experiencing problems with food insecurity, and just to be wasteful isn't good when we could be actually putting those resources to people who need them.
Do you feel that you have this problem?
I mean, yeah, because obviously, I don't eat, at, normal times of the day. Sometimes, especially when I'm, not, especially on the weekends. And then sometimes when I, buy food for myself, I think I tend to, overestimate how much I need to eat or how much I want to eat. And then a lot of that food gets thrown away. Last weekend, I went on a road trip, and I bought food for a road trip. A lot of that food ended up getting thrown away because I overestimated how much food I actually needed and wanted to eat, and I didn't really. Sometimes when you're planning for those things, you don't really know how it's gonna go. So yeah, a lot of that food ended up being wasted.
Do you feel that you could improve how you save your food?
I mean, yeah, especially on the weekends and stuff. When during the week, I don't have that problem as much because I'm not I eat in my sorority house, and I eat, and then I take food from there, and then that they kind of handle that, and I tend to usually eat what I get. But yeah, when I prepare my own meals, yeah, definitely I have a lot of times I overestimate how much I need to eat, and I think if there was something that could help me just project how much I actually want to eat, I think that would help me curb this problem.
When do you feel you have the most trouble with saving food?
Like I said, usually on the weekends when when I'm preparing my own meals, more so. And sometimes at home too, because at home, sometimes, not when I'm actually eating actual meals, but sometimes when I'm snacking, I tend to I have that thing where my dad says I eat with my eyes. So I tend to think that I'm hungrier than I am. So.
Are there certain locations or occasions that you feel like you waste more food at?
I mean, occasions, big events, sometimes parties and stuff, sometimes I'll take more cake than I really need or want. Or as far as locations go, here, Beatty, it's where I waste my most food, for sure. What else? I think sometimes when I'm at an event that isn't mine, just a random I don't know, school event, sometimes I'll take one more slice of pizza than I really want, or just because it's free, so I'm oh, let's get everything that I need that I want. But yeah, sometimes that's oh, I'm not even hungry anymore, so it's wasteful.
Do you feel you have this problem here or at home more?
Like I said earlier, I don't know, it's different in both places, but probably here, just because at home, I have somebody being well, if you're not gonna eat it, just don't take it. While here, no one's really holding me accountable, so I can be more wasteful. But at home, I also have more access to more food, and I'm not buying it, so I can be pretty wasteful at home too.
How do you think this problem varies when somebody is just going day to day, everyday life versus a wedding or a big event or something like that?
Well, in your everyday life, you're wasteful in different, but you tend to be. I think I tend to be less wasteful in my everyday life, just because I'm aware that this is my food, versus a big event, especially weddings are a buffet style, I feel in buffet styles in general, you tend to be more wasteful because you see all this food and you're like, oh my god, I want all this food, but again, it's about overestimating how much you actually want to eat.
Are there any sources of information you use to curb this need?
I don't know, like, I feel like the most, like, person that, like, tells me about how to save food and not waste food is, like, my parents, because obviously they don't want me to be wasteful, especially here in college, because it's, like, wasting money that could go towards other things. In college is already, like, it's already, like, so many different expenses that, like, food doesn't have to be another unnecessary expense when you're, like, if you're eating or buying more food than you actually need, or wasting the food that you are buying.
What web sources do you think someone could use to curb this need?
I mean, like, with the going, like, a green movement, obviously there's, like, I'm sure that there's a lot of web sources that talk about how to be less wasteful, not just with food, but just in general. And just, like, probably, like, environmental websites. And I'm sure if you Google something, a lot of things will come up, because obviously it's a big trend now. Like, I'm, like, 20 years ago, like, this we weren't as aware that this, like, being wasteful, not just with food, but just in general, was a problem. And now, with, like, that we're becoming more globally aware, we're realizing that wasting food is a problem, because obviously world hunger is a problem. It's not just a problem, like, globally, but it's a problem in the US, and it's a problem that we don't even are aware that people we know may have. So being wasteful isn't good, and now that we're aware of it, I'm sure there's a lot of web sources that could.
So say you are somebody who, like, decided they had a problem saving their food. What would you recommend to them to Google? Like, what kind of things would you tell them to search if they wanted to help themselves be less wasteful?
How to save how to save food better, or how to budget for food shopping, because obviously, like, a lot of it begins at what you, like, especially with, like, families, or, like, once you're actually, like, going grocery shopping, like, weekly, a lot of it begins with what you're actually buying at the grocery store. And if you're buying, like, by planning by meal, like, I feel like that's, like, the best way to go about it. If you're, like, meal planning, I think just, like, Googling meal planning would be a good way to go about it, because if you can figure out how to meal plan and plan your weekly meals, exactly what you're planning to eat, instead of just randomly going by, like, whatever you're feeling, that will definitely help you be less wasteful. And I know there's, like, a lot, like, meal planning is, like, a trend now, so I know there's, like, a lot of, like, articles on.
Do you think your friends and family act as a tool to curb spending?
Definitely my parents, because, like I said, they don't want me to be wasteful, because, like, they're way more aware of, like, money than I am. So, because they've been, like, obviously, like, budgeting for, like, decades now. And so they know that, like, food, like, even though sometimes we don't think of it as, like, spending money, it definitely is a huge part of what we spend money on. So being wasteful, so I think they've definitely impacted me if I'm gonna get food to eat it, or if I'm not gonna eat it, don't get it.
What methods do you think other people use when they realize they are wasting too much food?
I think when they're, like, I think people, when they become aware that it's becoming, like, a problem to, like, their budget, and then they're, like, I think people even realize it's, like, oh, like, I'm going out way too much to eat food, like, I need to stop. Like, I think people usually go towards meal planning a lot, because, like, if they are aware of, like, what they're gonna eat, they're gonna be less wasteful. And I think also just, like, kind of using other people, like, asking other people, like, what they do would be a good way, especially when they're, like, aware that it's actually a problem, which I think a lot of people aren't aware it's a problem until they're aware that it's becoming a problem, like, economically.
Okay. Is there any specific person that you think would be useful at curbing this need?
I mean, I feel like a nutritionist, just because going back to, like, the meal planning, I know nutritionists, like, meal plan for people, and, like, they plan exactly what they're gonna eat in a week, or, like, even a month sometimes. So I think if a nutritionist would not only help somebody, like, plan exactly what they're gonna eat, but, like, they would plan what they're gonna buy in a way that's gonna be like most nutritious and healthiest for them, and that they're not buying like junk food that they don't actually need.
That's a good point. All right, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. Thank you very much. Goodbye.